when I was young, I was a DJ, right? I was a hip-hop DJ. 1982, man. I was young. 85, Houdini, Grandmaster Flash, old school stuff, yeah. I mean, real old school stuff. And I thought that those hip-hop musicians were the greatest thing since sliced cheese. I looked up to them. I thought that they were like, you know, I thought they were Uswa Hassan. I thought they were Uswa Hassan. And then I started to get deeper and deeper into the hip-hop game. It was like a white boy DJ, so wow, you know. And I had some bad skills, I'm not gonna lie. Okay. And what happened was, I started to live amongst these people. I started to travel with them. And I started to see how they really are. Remember Omar asked the man, did you travel with him? Did you do business with him? If you did, then you know them. I started traveling with these people, and especially started to see how they treat women. And for some reason, even though I was lost and I was in the streets, man, I still had some shyness in me. Alhamdulillah, Allah protected me. Because I was tough, I was bad. But then I would see how they would treat women and how they would use drugs and how they would talk about people, how sometimes they would physically assault people in the street who were their fans. And I realized that I had not understood really who they were. I had fallen for the okie doke, as we say. I got played like a piano on Saturday night in the club. Okay, that I thought these people were someone that I should try to be like, and that somehow they were noble people and virtuous people. But then when I got around them, I realized that they were the scum of the earth. And that's one of the things that caused me to become Muslim, when I started to see the hypocrisy. Okay. The same thing here with young brothers and sisters, man. Sisters especially. You're being pounded by marketing. You will not imagine. Read a book called Branded. It's a book called Branded. Read that book, man. And they tell you that they pay, Avon pays girls at your high school to advertise without saying anything. They give them free clothes to wear. They brand your body. And look, I'll give you one example of the rhetoric that's used on women. Your foundation, is that what you wash off every night? Or is your foundation here? Ooh, I gotta wipe. Is my foundation up there, girl? Oh, I got a clear foundation on. I'm gonna wash it off when I go. You don't wash off your foundation. Your foundation is here, man. So an artificial layer that you put on your face is your foundation. So immediately you're taught to be fake in society. Well, men, we have now a term called guy code. Not guy code, the crazy caveman on the bikes and stuff, and eyes on the money. Guy code means that whenever we're around each other, we've been trained to be so competitive that it's impossible to really be brothers. That's why you see youngsters, man. If I want to deal with a bunch of young men, I don't get them in a big group together because it becomes like all styling and showing out. But what I do is isolate them suckers, man, and take them one by one to the graveyard. And there, all the ego goes, all of the, because personality and it actually means mask in Greek. So those personalities break off and they become who they are. So what about us? Have we taken the time to understand the Prophet? To deeply engage in his life, his message that we are responsible for carrying? Here's some resources. Number one, there's a book by Hassan al-Banna. Not the Hassan al-Banna who died, but Hassan al-Banna is a young brother. He's probably in his early 30s, late 20s. And when he was a teenager in England, he realized that there was a profound absence of seerah, life of Muhammad works that really were applicable to young people. So he wrote this seerah when he was like 19. MashaAllah, he was in high school. He wrote a seerah, a life of the Prophet ﷺ, which is called the biography of the Prophet, by Awakening Publications, I believe, are the ones who distribute that book, by Hassan or Sayyid al-Banna. Really, if you're a young teenager, it's not a big book, because I know how we are. We can play video games for hours, but we couldn't read a book that big. So it's about that big. And then what it does is give you a literacy of the seerah. Literacy, not scholarship. Another book that is really good, which is bigger, which I encourage everyone to have, is Muhammad, Man and Messenger. You gotta have this book, mashallah, by Adil Salahi. It's published by the Islamic Foundation in England, but it's available in America. Those are two very important books. For non-Muslim friends, relatives, a lot of us, my whole family are non-Muslim. one of the best things I've seen is that cassette that Yusuf Islam made about 10, 15 years ago. Remember the cassette he made on the life of Muhammad? It's Yusuf Islam. It's Cat Stevens. So that, it's not harmful to them. It's 1 hour long. I gave it to my mother. My mother is my test, you can say, gerbil. When it comes to Islamic da'wah, she said this was amazing. I learned more about the Prophet in an hour. I wasn't intimidated. It was Cat Stevens talking to me. He was cool when I was little. The whole 9 yards. So those are some good resources for you. We talk about understanding. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran mentioned the importance of understanding. The Prophet said, "Man yuridullahu bi khairin yufaqihuhu fi din." Whoever Allah intends good for, He gives him an understanding of religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He chastises the hypocrites, He says, "La yafqahuna illa qalila, wa la yafqahun." Allah says they don't understand, or they understand only a little. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Mathalan ma ba'athani Allah." What the example, the likeness in Sahih Bukhari, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent me with, of huda, guidance. And huda is like rain which falls on the land. There's 3 types of land, the Prophet said. One is a land which takes in the rain, it irrigates the rain, it benefits itself and it benefits those around it. The second is a land which takes the rain but isn't able to benefit itself. And the third is a land which is rock hard. It can't soak any of the rain, nor can it benefit any of the land around it. So the Prophet said, the first example, the one that soaked in the rain and benefited others as well as itself, is the one who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them understanding of deen, understanding of guidance. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. The first major point we can take from the Prophet's life, which will help us understand his seerah, is that the Prophet ﷺ لم يقدم الجزئيات على الكليات. That the Prophet ﷺ never put particulars in front of universals. Meaning that the Prophet ﷺ has أولويات, has priorities in his da'wah. Nowadays we see the Muslims, we lack priorities. We focus on secondary issues and leave the main issues. We don't do that when we eat, mashallah. You never see someone forget the biryani and only bring the water and the cucumbers and the onion. No. But in our deen, for some reason, we have been afflicted with having a fetish for al-juziyat, particulars. And in our inability to understand that in those particular areas of Islam, which I'll talk about in a minute, the ulama gave us great width to differ. But in the foundations of Islam, that's where nobody can differ. Nobody can come and say, is Allah one? Nah, I'm different on that. So for example, last week, a very dear brother of mine came into my office in California. He wears those, like Michael Vick jerseys, and, Brett Favre. And, I don't know anyone who wears a Detroit Lions jersey for obvious reasons. But, he was wearing an Iverson Pistons jersey. So he came to me and said, Imam, Aywa, Uli ya mama. Is she Egyptian? Aywa, ana عارف. هي مصرية محضة. So, Aywa in Egyptian means, what's up? Hey, what's up, girl? Aywa? I gotta stop now.